Princess Zaraneth of the Crystalline Throne had once been the jewel of the Valathian Empire. Her scales shimmered like opals under 3 suns, and her voice could command fleets across a dozen star systems. But that was before the weight of grief consumed her, before she stopped caring about the rigid beauty standards of her species, before her own family deemed her an embarrassment to their perfect, slender bloodline. The punishment was meant to be the ultimate humiliation. Exile to the human waste reclamation facility on Station Kepler 442, bonded to a lowly sanitation worker named Marcus Webb. The Valathian court had laughed as they sealed her fate. What greater shame could there be than servitude to a species barely 3 centuries into space travel, assigned to a man who cleaned filtration systems for a living? Marcus had simply nodded when the officials brought her to his quarters. He was a broad-shouldered man with calloused hands and kind eyes that crinkled at the corners. His home was small, a converted storage unit with a viewport overlooking the station's spinning hydroponics ring, but it was clean and warm. "Your Highness," he said, pulling out the only chair. "You must be exhausted." Zaraneth had expected disgust, pity, or the leering fascination she'd endured from courtiers who whispered behind her back. Instead, Marcus treated her like a person. He asked if she was hungry. He showed her how the human shower worked. He gave her his bed and slept on the floor without complaint. The first weeks were torture. Zaraneth waited for the cruelty to reveal itself, for Marcus to mock her size or treat her as the burden she knew herself to be. But never came. He spoke to her about his day, asked her opinions on station politics, and actually listened, when she talked about the star poetry of her homeworld. Slowly, something shifted. Marcus cooked meals with a care that surprised her. Not the nutrient paste deemed optimal by Valathian standards, but real food with flavors that danced on her tongue. He never commented on how much she ate, never watched her with judgment. When she mentioned missing the bioluminescent gardens of her palace, he spent 3 months of salary on seeds and UV lamps, creating a tiny corner of glowing plants in their quarters. "Why?" she asked one night, her voice breaking. "Why do you treat me with such kindness? I am nothing. A disgraced princess given to you as a joke." Marcus set down his tools and met her eyes. "You're not nothing, Zara. You're someone who's been hurt. Someone who forgot they were worth more than what others said about them." He smiled softly. "Besides, I don't see a punishment when I look at you. I see someone brilliant, funny, and strong enough to survive a family that didn't deserve her." Tears rolled down her scales. No one had spoken to her that way in years, maybe ever. As months became a year, Zaraneth bloomed. Not by shrinking into what her people demanded, but by remembering who she'd been before the world told her she was wrong. Marcus encouraged her to write again, to sing the star songs she'd abandoned. He defended her against sneering station workers with a quiet ferocity that made even the boldest back down. The station's humans, initially curious about the punishment princess, began to see what Marcus saw. She was invited to cultural exchanges, asked to teach Valathian history, consulted on diplomatic matters. She helped redesign the station's waste systems, her royal education in resource management proving invaluable. She and Marcus became partners in every sense. When the Valathian Empire finally sent an envoy to check on their discarded princess, they found her thriving. She stood beside Marcus at the docking bay, her hand in his, her scales brighter than they'd been in a decade. The ambassador's sneer faltered. "This was meant to be your punishment." Zaraneth smiled, radiant and free. "No, this was my salvation. You gave me to someone who taught me that love isn't about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about being cherished exactly as you are." She squeezed Marcus's hand. He squeezed back. The humans, the galaxy would learn, had always understood something the Valathians had forgotten. That true strength wasn't found in perfection, but in the courage to love fiercely, unconditionally, and without shame. And perhaps that was the most human trait of all.